The Undercountry Music News is an excerpt of the weekly internet broadcast Undercountry Music, which features music from great country artists you won't hear on mainstream radio, as well as a roundup of the most interesting country music news of the week without all the fluff. To listen and subscribe to the full weekly episode, please visit undercountrymusic.com or simply subscribe to the Undercountry Music Podcast on iTunes. Let's get into it. And by the way, anything you like here, just go to the show notes. Well, if you're listening on an internet radio station, there are no show notes, in which case you can go to undercountrymusic.com and you get links to all the artists you hear if you hear something you like. All right? I got my egg sandwich down, kind of sucking eggs through my teeth right now. They always say you shouldn't smack your lips on a microphone. I never went to podcasting school, but that's okay, because you don't mind, do you? No, because you wouldn't be here if you did. And by the way, boy, I got an ass kicker coming up this week. It's my busy. Whoa, that's a little early there. No, I'm not at the belching part yet. Okay. You know, I'm a DJ as my living. Weddings, corporate events, family gatherings, things like that. This is the time of year where I get events during the middle of the week, on the weekends, during the day, during the night, and I just do my best to keep up, and I am very thankful for that work. But, you know, doing the show, producing the show, and then also doing the DJ work and get everything prepared for each individual event I have coming up, well, it just has me running day and freaking night. But that's okay. I like it that way, but it's definitely a challenge. So I don't know what's going to happen here, but I'm going to do my best to keep cranking this show out. And I'm gonna get it out each and every week. I don't know when each and every week, but I'm gonna get it out. It's gonna get done. But who knows? It might be short. It might go long. I might rant about crazy, crazy stuff. Let's see how I'm doing by the end of this month. I don't know. I could. Who knows what the hell could come out of my mouth after several weeks of getting my butt kicked. And with that, it is time for the Undercountry Music News. This is the portion of the show where I do all my burping. This is where I round up the week in country music news. I throw out the fluff and People Magazine garbagiola, and I just bring you the essential country music news. The country music news that actually is country music news. Unfortunately, I have to dig under a bunch of stuff to get to the actual news that is country music news. That's why it's called Undercountry Music News. Actually, that's not why it's called Undercountry Music News. It's called Undercountry Music News because the show is called Undercountry Music. And then I just put news on the end of it. And, well, there you've got it. All right, so what I do is each week I go on to the search engine Joogle. Not Google, I use Joogle. I get more interesting stuff that way. I think it's like a North Korean search engine. I don't know. Anyway, I go on there and I type in the search term country music news. And I see what websites come up on the front page of Joogle. And I go on to those websites. And what do you know? I look for country music news. And I usually have to flip through all, like Kelly Clarkson, Taylor Swift, and Jessica Simpson stories, none of which are country music stars, to get to stories about actual country music. And then there's the country music stars and a bunch of garbage press release junk-ola, I try to find the one or two good ones from each place, and I compile them all into this big snot ball of news, which I then hakapooey right in your kisser. And that's the Undercountry Music News. All right, let's get into it. Over at CM, and when a website doesn't have any country music news and it's just all fluff and garbage, I reward them with the dreaded Undercountry Music News Wet Belch of the Week. That's where the belching comes from. All right, now let's get into it. Over at CMT, they ain't got nothing but an undercountry music news wet belch of the week, because all they're talking about is just a bunch of crap from the CMT Christmas show. And that's just mailing it in, baby. Mailing it in. You can do better than that, CMT. And here's theboot.com to prove that you can do it better than that, because they got a bunch of stories over at theboot.com. Shame on you, CMT. But we'll give CMT the boot and go over to the boot. At The Boot, they have a great and really long photo gallery of pretty much all the top country artists and a few pop stars. They've got their yearbook pictures, actually. Really, really entertaining stuff. I highly encourage. I mean, that alone is worth the trip. That's a hoot. And all I can say is Toby Keith does not look comfortable wearing a suit and tie as a teenager. Ronnie Dunn has signed with NASHIcon / Big Machine Records, and has also hinted at a possible reunion with Kix Brooks. Now, they didn't say there definitely was going to be one, but I'm having a tough time believing that Big Machine would be signing Ronnie Dunn by himself. Because Big Machine, their whole the whole NASHIcon thing is to get the mega stars of country music and get them all under one label. That's like their whole thing. They're, they got Reba, they've been gunning for Garth, they've been going for all the big dogs, Shania and all that. And I don't see them throwing Ronnie Dunn on there without Kix. I'd say that their good feather in their cap would be the reunited Brooks and Dunn. And, Ronnie Dunn says that he and Kix have been talking, and, and that's about all he's saying right now. But I'm just telling you, I think it's going to happen. And I'm not a big Brooks and Dunn fan. I like some of their stuff, but a lot of the stuff, back in their day, they put out a lot of pop country garbage that was just, cheesy and stupid. But, I also put out some great stuff as well. I love Hillbilly Deluxe. That's a great song. I like Whiskey Under the Bridge. I like Neon Moon. I mean, Neon Moon is just a slam dunk. But My Maria is pretty good, although that's not their song. That's actually a cover song that they did. Not a lot of people know that. But anyway, I'm going to move along here. So anyway, possible Kix and Brooks reunion in the works. And here in a bit of sad news, Luke Bryan's brother-in-law passed away over Thanksgiving weekend, and Luke subsequently canceled his performance at the CMT Artist of the Year special, which coincided with the services. My deepest sympathies go out to Luke and his family. Now, as I was scrolling down from that story, below it, the boot did have a photo montage of all the country stars of 2014 who have passed so far. And I didn't think that was necessary. It's like, trying to put a link into other stuff to keep you engaged on the news of Luke's, family member passing. And I think maybe the boot could have refrained from that. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't in horribly bad taste. I just found it a little unnecessary and a tiny bit disrespectful, and I wish they hadn't have done that. But anyway, also over at the boot, there's a really great video for Dom Flemons from the Carolina Chocolate Drops and his new song, his new solo song called Too Long I've Been Gone. And that was really entertaining. I really liked it. It was a sensitive song. It wasn't an Ooh, I Love You Baby song. It was one of those things, where when you've been on the road a really long time going town to town and the way it makes you feel. And, there's this really weird hollow feeling. You just kind of start drifting from place to place. And it's, you'd have to be out on tour and on the road to really, really understand that. But there's a lot of you out there that know what I'm talking about, don't you? Also over at the boot, you can see the new video for Kenny Chesney's Christmas in Blue Chair Bay. I really like that one, especially since most of the Christmas songs coming out right now are just old songs getting rehashed, so and redone and rehashed, and it's kind of cool to see someone doing, a new Christmas song, something they just freshly wrote, and that was cool. I like this. All right, moving along to Taste of Country. Craig Campbell has signed a deal with Red Bow Records, which is also the label of Chase Bryant and Joe Nichols. Red Bow is a part of Jason Aldean's Broken Bow music group, which is the home of Jason Aldean. Craig Campbell's former record label, Bigger Picture, recently closed its doors and did leave Craig out in the cold. And there's a video below this story, which is basically a slideshow of Craig talking about the closing of his former label and how he got over to Broken Bow. And it's a pretty cool story about how it all came together. And he also talks about his cornhole tournament that he's throwing during the CMA Fest. Now, for those of you who don't know what cornhole is, it's a beanbag toss game that's popular in the South. For those of you in the North, it means something completely different. And I applaud you. And guess what? The police have caught up with the man who they believe threw a beer can at the Mullet Festival, which cut Dustin Lynch's face last month. And they've reached out to Dustin Lynch to see if he'd like to press charges against this guy. Dustin has declined to press charges, saying he doesn't really feel like spending his day off filing paperwork. And what they're going to do to this guy anyway is probably not a whole lot. So he didn't really want to waste a day on it. And now I was about to disagree with him, saying that, you shouldn't be letting people get away with that stuff. And you should definitely file the charges. And then I read a comment from somebody in the discussion forum that was below the story who raised an interesting viewpoint on this. She said, F him. No, she didn't really say that. What she said, she raised the possibility that the guy in the audience was likely throwing the beer on stage for Dustin. That it was a gift and he was not throwing it at Dustin and simply aimed kind of badly. And it was just kind of went wrong. Now, I had not read that angle from any story before, and I must admit, that actually seems plausible to me because Dustin, when he picked up the beer, it was ice cold and fully sealed. And, he was like, why is anybody wasting a ice cold beer like that? So I think the guy was just throwing Dustin a beer. And this things got horribly taken out of perspective and context. And I admit that thought hadn't even crossed my mind before. Anyway, moving along over to Country Weekly. Lucy Hale is embarking on her first headlining tour starting January 29th. It seems to be mostly club dates up and down the East Coast with, a stop in Nashville and a stop in Atlanta as well. But other than that, it's all the Eastern Seaboard. It looks like a little short jaunt, like maybe 8 or 10 dates or something like that. But, hey, it is what it is. And it's better than my upcoming tour, which is non-existent. Rock on, Lucy Hale. Rock on. LoCash Cowboys. Remember those guys? Yeah, they had like this, didn't they spin out last winter on the highway in their tour bus and narrowly missed crashing into something, and then like Jason Aldean's tour bus came and got him, or Luke Bryan, or something like that. Came and rescued him and got him to the show. Anyway, LoCash Cowboys have signed a new deal with Reviver Records, and they're no longer called the LoCash Cowboys. They dropped the Cowboys. Now they're just called LoCash. Yeah, that's about it. No, that's not it. I got lots more country music news to come for you, okay? Like this story, also over at Country Weekly. Maddie and Tae are promising, girl in a country song. How in the world did it go so wrong? Yeah, those two. The little teenage girls. They're promising the fans that they're going to release a full-length album by the spring. And they're currently just been milking a 4-song EP that they wrote, this past year. And so they're saying by springtime, you're going to have a full-length offering from them. Cool. Moving along to the 615, which is a subsection of Billboard. I did a little burp there. I'm somewhat deserved. But anyway, Tom Wopat and John Schneider, otherwise known as the Dukes of Hazzard, have successfully completed their new Christmas album, which they were raising funds for via Kickstarter. It's called Home for Christmas, and it's a combination of country and jazz Christmas songs, from what I understand, which seems a little weird to me, but whatever. Now, they're also going to be doing a few concerts together. Jujule it. Damn it, just jujule it and figure it out for your damn self. Moving to the GAC, Great American Country, Carrie Underwood has announced that while pregnant, she is switching her diet from vegan to, wait for it, vegetarian. I gotta tell you, I don't know the difference. But I do know that every fiber of my being right now is screaming, give me an effing break. Over at NashvilleGab.com, Big and Rich, they will be the halftime performers at the Liberty Bowl in Memphis on December 29th. And they blabbed about all kinds of other stuff about honors this, honors that, and they step in good company with country legends, blah, 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 frickin' blah. If you want to read that, get on over to Nashville Gab. All right. Rolling Stone Country. Had some egg sandwich stomach foam on the end of that one, didn't it? Because they got nothing! Zip, silch, bada bing, bada boom, ba ka 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 pooey! And this has been your Undercountry Music News. Thank you for listening to the Undercountry Music News. The Undercountry Music News is just a small excerpt of the weekly, hour-long internet broadcast, Undercountry Music, where I play music and have great interviews by lesser-known original country acts. Get on over to undercountrymusic.com where you can listen and subscribe. Stay under, stay country.